Hi everybody, Carissa here with Inky Fairy Designs for the Blitsy creative team today. We're going to be making some Christmas mixed media canvas to display in your home as decoration, and using some non-traditional Christmas colors because I am taking my color palette from this Bow Bunny Altitude 6x6 pad. Now we're going to work on this wood canvas, and I cut out some of the papers, ripped them up, and now I'm going to adhere them. This is going to be our first layer, and I like to do this when I have any type of blank canvas because this gives me my color palette. I'm taking those colors from the papers. I think they're really pretty, purples and blues and grays and teals, and so that's what I am kind of going for as I put this canvas together. Now I like working on these wood canvases because it gives you a nice solid surface rather than a pliable surface that your regular traditional canvases, stretch canvases would give you. And it's just a different kind of background texture to work on. You've got that wood grain that can give you some nice interest in your project, and I'm just using some Faber-Castell gel medium to adhere all of my papers down. You'll see that I put some of the gel medium directly onto the wood canvas, and then I'll put some on the paper, and then I will put that paper down and put some more gel medium right on top of that paper to seal it onto my canvas. And this just gives us a nice background layer, and I like to rip my pages. For the most part, it gives me some, it's more of an organic feel. I do leave some hard edges there, and I do end up covering most of them except for the ones that are around like the edge of the canvas, because I think that just ties it in, but you could certainly rip all of your papers and keep that torn edge all around the edge of the canvas as well. So I'm just going to continue to lay some papers here. You can see I fill it almost completely, but I do leave some areas of the wood showing through just to give some added interest and texture to my project. So the next thing that I will do is add some white gesso on top, and this is going to act as my primer for the rest of the project. And you'll see I kind of wish sort of in hindsight that I would have probably added the gesso before adding my papers, but it works out. What I do is I cover the entire wood with the gesso, just a very light coat, all the way on the edges as well. And then I'll take a wet baby wipe and and wipe away some of that gesso so that some of that color and paper shows through. And then I try to add it more on the wood, exposed wood, and prime that with the gesso. So now I'm taking some of the Dina Wakley Media Heavy Body Acrylic Paint in Night, Turquoise, and White, and I just put little dots around the canvas, mostly on where the exposed wood was, and I'm just taking a palette knife and scraping it across and giving some nice texture, but leaving some of that paper showing through. So that's what I like about using a palette knife is I'm not controlling it as much as I would if I had a paintbrush in my hand. So it's the same kind of concept as if you were using your fingers, although I think if I had used my fingers I would have tried to get more control, and so that's what I like about the palette knife. It kind of gives it a more organic feel. So now I'm adding some more texture with this wall joint tape. You can actually pick it up at like a home supply store. That's where I got it. It's not like a technically art supply, but I like the circles and I love the texture that it can give many projects. So now I'm going to go in with some of this Montana acrylic paint pen, and I just kind of splattered it onto my canvas. It's a purple color, and it brought out the purple from that paper because, like I said, those papers, while it looks like I cover them up, you can still see them through here and there, and it really provided me inspiration for the colors of this canvas. I didn't want to go with a traditional red and green for my Christmas project, so I love these papers. They're from last year's collection of Bow Bunny, and I just love the purples and the blues, and so that's where I grabbed my colors from, and then I added the paints and all of that on top. And so now here what I did was I added some more of the white heavy body paint, and then I mixed it with that paint pen just by dabbing it on my fingers, and it gave me a really pretty lighter purple on top of the other layers. So now I'm going to add some more texture. I pulled out my Dina Wakley stamp set. I think it's from the Positive Women, and I'm only using the circles for some texture. I just wanted some background stamps to add some interest here and there. I'm stamping with the Ranger archival ink in jet black, and then you see I took another background stamp that had some text on it and stamped that around as well. One thing I wanted to point out as I am adhering what will end up being my ornaments, I just cut out some circles using a die, and I thought that these wood veneers by Crepe Paper would act as a nice kind of added interest and dimension to my project as the actual ornaments. I hadn't planned that when I sat down, but in the middle of the project I remembered I had these in my stash, and I thought, oh, that would be such a cool added interest to my project. So they ended up working out perfectly with the die cut circles that I had. But one thing I wanted to mention was that when you're working on a canvas like this or a wood panel like this that has sides, you want to make sure that you add your paint and your stamps and all of your texture all around, so that when it's hanging on the wall it is one whole piece and you don't have that exposed or the white edges. It's just going to add, make your piece look completely finished. So now I wanted to add some shading around my circles or my ornaments, and I took my Stabilo 3-in-1 woody pencil, and I added, I just drew around each of the circles, and now I'm just taking a paintbrush with some water on it, and I'm activating that pigment because it is a water, it's a water paint, and so you want to, when you're using that, you want to make sure it's one of your last layers because it will continue to activate, once it gets wet. So I knew I was nearing the end, and I just wanted to add some shadows around my ornaments to kind of make them pop a little bit more. And then here is another Stabilo pencil. This is the Aquarelle all-purpose pencil, and it's pretty much the same concept as the Woody 3-in-1. It's a water-based. I just wanted a thinner line for the ornaments coming down, and so that's why I picked that out. So now I'm going to add some sentiments. Here are some words from a Donna Downey set with Unity Stamp Company, and it's from an Advent collection, and I just thought some of the words in there were really great to put inside of my ornaments. One says believe, and the other one says peace, and I stamped it all crooked, but you know what, we're going to go with it. This far into a project, I'm not going to worry about some crooked stamping. It really just adds to the handmade feel to this piece. So now I'm placing my ornaments, and I realize I need to add some more shadow, so I'm picking up the thicker pencil again and bringing that out further because the wood veneer is so thick. It really, when I put it down, it just covered it up, and I wanted some of that shadow to be peeking out underneath the wood, just to give it some more depth and dimension. So I'm taking a wet paintbrush and pulling that paint out a little bit further, and it looks, like a hot mess, but once you put the wood veneers on, you only see a slight amount of that. So I pulled out some of the Tim Holtz linen ribbon, and I'm using that as my string for the ornaments. I love this because it's not, I like it's like a grayish kind of color, almost like a silvery color, and it just went well with the colors that in my paper and the colors that I was going for in this piece. So I'm taking some helmar 450 quick dry glue, and I'm just kind of running that on my canvas, and then I'm putting that ribbon, linen ribbon right on top, and I am wrapping it. You can see here all of the paint and the texture and the stamps go all around the canvas, and so do my ribbon. So now I'm ready to add my wood veneers. We're getting close to the end of this project. I really love how it came together. I think the non-traditional color palette for this winter Christmas project just really makes it unique. And my favorite color is purple anyway, so I think purples and blues and silvers or grays are really good, you know, winter palette, so it works for this piece. I'm just taking a baby wipe and kind of wiping away any of that excess glue there that's seeped out as I press down that wood veneer. And I'm just going to add all of these to the canvas and kind of get wrapped up here. I have a few final finishing touches that I do add to the canvas. I want to thank you guys for sticking around. This is kind of a longer video than I normally try to do, but with something like this, there's a lot of layers and a lot of paint and texture that goes into making a mixed media canvas like this, especially with all the extra dimension of the ribbon and the wood veneers. So one of the final touches that I'm going to do is I'm going to take this Faber-Castell texture gem pen and I'm just going to add some patterns to the inside of my ornaments, kind of like ornaments would have different patterns on the tree. I love the dots. I love how those came out. I'm not too thrilled with my lines because they were very not straight lines, but again, that just adds to the homemade feel to this canvas. It's art, so nothing is perfect, at least in my art. So this pen is really cool. It just dries clear and it gives you that added dimension. So I think that is about it. I'm going to add some Heidi Swap Gold Shine, her color Shine, right here, and just to warm it up a little bit. And I love this gold shimmer spray, and I'm just dropping it. I'm not using it as a spray. I'm just dropping it, kind of giving some ink splatters around on my project. And then the other thing I did make some bows out of that same Tim Holtz linen ribbon because my ornaments needed some bows. Otherwise, they're just kind of randomly hanging there, but now they are tied on to the strings hanging down. So I really like how those little bows turned out. The final thing I promise that I'm doing is adding this golden acrylic, gold mica flakes all around the edge, just framing off my canvas with some gold flakes. And that is it. So thank you guys so much again for hanging around with me today to create this mixed media Christmas canvas. And I hope you enjoyed it and picked up some extra tips. Oh, look, I lied. There's one more thing. I'm adding this 25 to the end of my project, the final piece. Here are some close-ups of all of that gorgeous texture and dimension on this holiday mixed media canvas today. I hope you enjoyed this video. I know I used a lot of products. Be sure to check out the YouTube description below as well as Blitsy's blog for everything that I used today. And for more ideas and inspiration, be sure to follow the Blitsy creative team on the Blitsy blog, Facebook page, and Instagram.